Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. And yeah, dealing with stress and anxiety right now. And I say right now because there's obviously, a lot of different tactics to deal with stress and anxiety. But I want to talk about specifically how to deal with it during like the coronavirus outbreak, during the COVID-19 outbreak. Oh, thank you for joining us on Zoom, Dan. And I feel like I and Sarah are especially qualified to do this because we have experienced the COVID-19 outbreak more than anybody else in the world. We've been around for as long as it's been going on. That's a joke. You all have been too. But normal stress and anxiety things that you can use to deal with that sort of stuff, normal tactics, but some of them how they're going to apply right now. And first, I'd like to talk about why is it important to deal with stress and anxiety. It seems, kind of intuitive, right? But it is important that we understand that. Number one, the more anxious you are, the more stressed you are, the more it is going to adversely affect your immune system. And if you drink too much alcohol, that will adversely affect your immune system. But one a day should be fine. And of course, not just because of this virus, but because of any virus, we want to be as healthy as possible. And it's March. It's still, I guess we're out of winter now. We're into the spring period. But it's whether it's cold season, whether it's flu season, it's a time to get to be as healthy as possible. And now we have yet another threat. So if we can control stress and anxiety, that's going to help us a little bit more. Oh, we have a lot more on the Zoom call joining us. Rosemary, Mabel, Kerry, thank you for joining us. Rosemary. Any comments, you type them in, and we'll talk about them. And I might unmute you if it's worthy enough. So yeah, we got to help keep our immune system strong. That's a big part of the stress and anxiety. Number two, leadership. Leadership. Chances are you are leading somebody. I'm looking at Dan Apprezzi right now, who's a very handsome gentleman, and his son Jack is with him right now. Hello, Jack. And Dan is leading Jack, right? And Dan leading his family. If you have kids, you're leading them. If you have a job, then you're leading those people as well, whether you're a boss or whether you have subordinates or not. People look to you for leadership, and being able to manage your stress and anxiety is going to allow you to make better decisions. It's going to allow you to set a better example, and it's going to allow you to keep people at ease. So the example that you're going to be setting for everybody, a lot of that is going to be determined by how you're handling your stress and how you're handling your anxiety. And especially because stress and anxiety is going to be higher during this time, right? So if you're handling it, you're going to be handling it better than most people if you're able to deal with it. And you're going to be able to lead and hopefully produce better outcomes. And the third reason is that you need to just handle your stress and anxiety to get through everyday life. Although anybody like us who's like a non-essential worker can't report to work, life hasn't stopped for us, right? Many of us still have jobs. If you don't have a job, you're probably looking for a job. You still have things you have to do. You have people to take care of. You have things to take care of at home. Life isn't stopping for you. You need to push ahead. When we get through this, whenever that is, you're going to need to be healthy, and you don't want to get into a bad way. And then when this is all over, you're stressed and anxious and you're not ready to go get things. Hello, Rosemary. So we need to protect our immune system. We need to be leaders for others, and we still need to do everything that we have to in life, right? So that's why we need to deal with our anxiety and our stress, especially during this time when it's going to be higher, more than ever. And obviously everybody's in a different circumstance. Some of you still have to go to work and it's a really stressful situation. A lot of you have kids that you have to deal with. Now you got to deal with them all the time. Don't roll your eyes, Dana. And maybe you're even homeschooling them. You're teaching them. And for a lot of you, work has been, even if you're working from home, you've told me about how work has been that much more stressful and that much more busy. So you need to adapt what we're going to talk about for your specific circumstances. They are going to be applicable. They just might be a little different for one person than the next, but they're still going to be helpful. And it's also important that we adopt the right tactics to deal with our stress and anxiety. There are a lot of unproductive and unhealthy ways that one can abuse to deal with stress and anxiety. That is not something that we want to become the norm, and we don't want to fall into those patterns. Obviously, alcohol, that's an extreme, right? Even like drug abuse, that's an extreme thing. But then we have the lesser vices, whether it be, online gambling, or maybe it's watching too many movies or too many TV shows, or being unproductive or playing, too many video games, if that's you or maybe even your kids. So those aren't traps that we want to fall into. So we want to do things that are really going to be productive and they're going to be helpful. So I've listed a few of them out here. I have 9 of them, actually. This is my 9-point program, okay? And the first few that I'm going to talk about are more applicable to this specific time, and the rest of them are just good for dealing with stress and anxiety through life. Number 1, I think this is going to be the most important one. Some of you might disagree with me. I don't care. I have the camera. I'm going to talk to you, and it's going to help you, okay? Don't watch the news. Stop watching the news. And this is what it's going to include. That's going to include all of the big cable news networks. I don't even care if you agree with one because they all have their little tilt, right? If you're agreeing with one or the other, I still don't want you to watch it. None of the big ones. No CNN, no Fox, no MSNBC. I want you to stop. I will explain why, okay? And I even want you to stop with the local news. That's your CBS, your NBC, your ABC, whatever. And I understand that's going to be very tough to do. But I'm going to tell you why I think you should do it, or you at least should stay away from it to the best of your ability, okay? First of all, a lot of what we know that we have to do, like, honestly, we do already know, right? We got to wash our hands for at least 20 seconds, right? You got to get the Turkish twist. You got to get the thumbs. You get the fingers behind the hands. We know that. We know we got to cough in the bend of the elbow. We know that right now we can't go outside. We can't interact with people, except obviously with those in your home. And everybody wanted that 6 foot of distance. Like, we know all of that, right? And even though things are changing very quickly, those are still happening day to day. So we obviously want to be informed and know what's going on in the world. So the most important thing is knowing what's coming down, honestly, from the CDC. They're giving us the health guidelines. If you want to check that website once a day, that's fine. And I would say really on the local level, your local websites, like for Madison, that's rosenet.org. For Springfield, springfield-nj.us. That's going to give you your, the information and the guidelines you need to follow. And if you want to check nj.com, that's still local, go for that. But what I would tell you to do is pick one time in the day to do that. It could be first thing in the morning or the last thing at night. And you have to be committed to that. Pick whichever time you're not going to get stuck watching it. Because, I was right away, I was reading everything, following everything. And then when I took a step back, I realized like 95% of the stuff that I was looking at, it was not helping me make better decisions. It was not allowing me to be more productive. It was eating into my productivity. It was making me more anxious. And at the beginning of the day, I read what I was told to do. And for that day, that's what I was supposed to do. A lot of the stuff, really, it's honestly not going to help you out. And looking at these totals and projections and all that sort of stuff, you personally, knowing that in that very moment for that day, it's probably going to do nothing but drive your stress and anxiety up. You know what you have to do. You know what the laws are right now. You check it once a day, and you're going to know what to follow. Being so inundated with this stuff, it's exciting. We're reading, and we get addicted to it. We want to listen to it. But honestly, in all reality, it's really not helping us that much. So check those local websites and stay away from the big news. And there are studies that show that the more interactive things are, like right now, the more emotions they're going to evoke, right? I see Anne smiling. I see a hint of a smile on Rosemary's face because they're watching video and it's getting them, more engaged. So when you watch videos, it's going to make the impact of that feeling even greater. Whereas if you were to read something and read the information, you're going to deal with it more analytically, and it's going to cause less of an emotional and stressful response. So that is also why I'm going to guide you to reading more than watching the news. So at least give it a try, right? In the next 24 hours, I bet you nothing that you see on the news is going to help you make any better decisions. You know what to do. Give the next 24 hours, pick one time, read the news, and see if it helps. That is my advice to you. I'm telling you, most people probably aren't going to tell you to do that. Please do that. Okay, that's number 1. Stay away from the news. Number 2, I want you to avoid, except for Game Changer Online, of course, which only has helpful and positive content, social media, okay? And now social media already has a lot of negative side effects to it, right? There are studies that already show that the more that we involve ourselves in social media, the higher our anxiety is going to be. And now, 99% of the information on social media is all anxiety-inducing. And this is one of the tougher times to stay away from social media because we're trying to stay connected. But I would say at your normal Facebook feed, your normal Twitter feed, the scrolling that you're going to see is most likely not going to be beneficial. If maybe there's a community group where you want to know what's going on, maybe you lump that in with your news checking. You check it once a day, and you can see what's going on with the community, different ways that you can help, different ways you can support businesses and other people who need the help. But probably honestly doing that the once a day and being very specific about the spots that you're picking is going to be helpful enough. And what I also think you're going to see a lot on social media, that some is going to be positive, but the negative is really going to be negative and really drive your stress and anxiety, is going to be like the personal stories that you read. Because, you know, whether it be fair or not fair, you're going to read like some negative stories about people. And it's honestly horrible to say, but it's not going to really have as much of an impact on what you need to do to take care of yourself and your family and your job. What's going to do, it's really going to stress you out and it's going to worry you, right? Right now, you need to take care of your home and your loved ones and what's going on with your job and all that sort of stuff. A lot on social media is not going to affect you as much. And it already doesn't affect us as much. But now because we're dealing with a common issue, it's going to make you feel even more affected. And just like the news can be addictive and we like to watch it and we can't pull ourselves away, well, these social media websites, they are designed to be addictive, to keep you scrolling, the way that you get the likes and just the way it's formatted. So once you're on, it's very hard to get off and you're going to turn around and say, what the hell happened? Where did my son go? I was supposed to homeschool him. I was scrolling on Facebook for 10 minutes. So you're also going to lose track of time. And same thing with like all the projections and the speculation. In this moment, at those moments, it's really not going to affect you. So news and social media, they will do more damage than positive right now. Write those down. Number 3, read. And this is going to tie into a later one, which is going to be to learn and improve. But let's read, right? Reading is already beneficial to us. It is really a positive way to take us away from this situation for a short period of time. And you can start and stop whenever you want. And you can transport yourself to a fictional place where you can have a good time, where you can even share those stories with your family. And again, it ties in with more stuff we're going to talk about getting better sleep. If you read before you go to sleep, it normally helps you get to bed easier. You know, I picked a few of my favorites here. I don't know if you have any at home, but I figured some visual aids might help us. Let's say you just like a good adult thriller. Girl on the Train, it's a good one, right? And a lot of these, you might not be able to order books right now, but you can download a lot. And I know a lot of libraries are making books now. But whatever you want, if you're into this kind of stuff, you read a nice adult thriller. Maybe you're into the classics. What we have here, little Bill Shakespeare. Volumes and volumes of great work. Learn a little bit of history. Maybe you read a little bit of Bill Shakespeare, okay? Maybe you want to learn about the great TV dramas, and you want to read The Soprano Sessions, where David Chase and author Alan Sepinwall give you an in-depth look about each and every episode. It makes watching television show educational. Maybe you have a younger one at home and you want to take him or her away to a nice world of fiction where they can even learn a little bit of history. One of my favorites, Percy Jackson. It's an easy read. 8-year-olds can read it. I love to read it. Anything in that genre, I'm going to suggest that you take a gander at. Maybe you love that fictional world, but you're an adult. A little Game of Thrones never hurt somebody, and God knows this is going to keep you occupied, and God knows it's going to put you to sleep. All right? So those are just some examples of what we can read. Maybe, our last example here, maybe you're a little lonely, or maybe you're just looking for a little romance in your life. Not a bad option, okay? And you can access all 3 volumes on the internet, I believe. So this is a personal one that I like to read in my spare time. At least, thank you. So reading transports us to world, and a lot of it's going to help you relax. It's a good medium, like, you know, television shows and movies, those are great, but we hate to get into a rut, and we're always watching them, and we're not advancing our mind. So reading, that can be helpful, all right? Number 4, to reduce stress and anxiety during these times, is to learn or improve. And I know a lot of you might be busier now because maybe you're taking care of your kids, or work has gotten odd and it's ramped up because you can't leave your home, or the companies that you deal with, they're scrambling, whatever the case. But this still could be a better time than most to take on some kind of new project, because guess what? A lot of the outdoor activities aren't happening. A lot of the social activities that you're taking part in aren't happening. So you ever say to yourself, oh, I just don't have the time for this? Now you probably do have the time, okay? And it could be a project at home. It could be cleaning something. It could be building something. It could be something like learning a new language, right? And those are definitely programs that are available online. But you could, what I also like to look at is whether it's personal growth or for your business or being a better parent, all that sort of stuff, you can get better at. And there are a bunch of resources to learn. Let's say you want to be a better person. You want to get better talking to people. We got great books like this, all right? Let's say you want to learn more about your finances, which God knows you need some information on right now. Great Tony Robbins read for you. Unshakable. This is just an example. That's another area you can get better at and learn better at. Let's say you want to learn more about sports. You can't watch sports, okay? You can read a little bit about them. Let's say you're in a field, sales or marketing. There are plenty of books on those. But so much, whatever your job is, a lot of the times you're so much in the day-to-day and you can't learn about like improving your skills. Like now you have that chance. Or maybe there was a business that you wanted to start or just a project. Now you have a chance to read about it. Now there's a lot fewer excuses. Let's say you like to, you want to learn to brew your own beer or how to be a beer taster or a connoisseur. These are the things you can read about, right? And of course, we can always bulk up on our fitness knowledge. So just example. The point is, and some of that was tongue-in-cheek, obviously, but the point is that this is like a better time than any to get better at something. If you're not happy with something in your life, like now is a cool opportunity to learn about it and to get better at it. So learn, improve, whatever it's going to be, okay? Next one would be to write or to journal. And journaling it's actually becoming back now, right? It's becoming a little more popular, and there's a few reasons for it. I like to think of our brains like a computer, right? And I know I have a little Google Chrome, and there's only so much storage on there. And I know the more files that I save, the slower it runs, the hotter it gets, the more it feels like it's about to combust, right? If only I could dump that off into a separate hard drive. I want you to think about your brain like that. You have all these thoughts and ideas, and getting them down onto paper, emptying them out, is definitely helpful. Not just for your intellect, but for your stress levels and for your anxiety levels. And writing, whether it's just regular journaling or whether it's like a gratitude journal at the beginning or the end of the day, getting those thoughts onto paper is very helpful. And obviously, what do you do with a therapist? You're talking things out, you're working things out. That's kind of the way the pen and paper is working. It's allowing you to get your feelings out on paper. It allows you to work through them. It allows you to even work through certain issues that you're trying to solve. So it'll help you even improve problems, and just not have everything in your head. You're not physically dumping things out, but you kind of emotionally are. So putting pen to paper is definitely helpful. And even on the side of like self-improvement, there's a lot to be said for journaling and writing in quiet. Now, for a lot of you with kids, quiet might be harder to find. You might need to lock yourself in the basement, the attic, or the bathroom, whatever. If you can find quiet time, I definitely encourage you to do that. And there have actually a lot of leaders throughout history. That's what they did. They wrote in quiet. There's a lot of stories about Lincoln during the Civil War. He would leave the White House and he had like a separate residence where he would go in quiet to write. And that's what helped him work through a lot of things and write his speeches out. And there are a lot of people who do that. And I would implore you to do that. And I have another book here. We'll have a separate talk on books. This is called Deep Work, and it's about there's so many distractions right now, and we can't do meaningful work anymore because we're always distracted. We're looking at things, we're reading things. We can't generate great ideas. This talks about how when we have like more quiet time, how we can get those ideas down. So whether it's, again, you have some kind of responsibilities in your life, whether it's work, whether it's being a parent, a guardian, a friend, working through those things. Writing them down will allow you to be better at them, and it's going to reduce some of your stress, okay? And so a lot of this is not just reducing your stress, but being able to take our mind off of things. So, yeah, write, journal, do all that. It's very good. Next one on the list, spending time with your family and probably virtually your friends, the way we are right now. If there was ever less of an excuse to avoid your family, particularly your immediate family, now is the time. And when you can foster and nurture and improve those relationships, there's no doubt it will bring your stress and anxiety down. People are saying right now, I'm stuck with my family, my stress is going way up. And you see a lot of those memes, and that sort of stuff. But if you can like improve those relationships, that's people right there that you can lean on and that are going to be able to help you. And, be that person you could talk to and probably be like the voice of reason in a lot of times when you're stressed. I know particularly like in a relationship, when somebody is down, the other person usually tries to be the stronger person and brings that other person up. So if you have anybody in your home, you're probably going to balance each other out. And when somebody is really down, you can be that person, or when you're down, they're going to be the person that's going to help bring you up. So spending time with your friends and family, or friends virtually like this. Obviously, we're not going to tell you to do it in person with friends, but this is a great opportunity to see people that like, oh, that person lives across the country. I just don't see him anymore. Well, now spending time with somebody in California is just as acceptable and relevant as somebody who is in New Jersey. Yeah. Delicious. So virtually spending time with them. And what can you do with your family? You can do a lot of things. You can do also a lot of productive things that are going to be fun. And that will probably also make you a little smarter and, again, take your mind off things. What comes to mind with me is love to do puzzles. Do a puzzle. It's going to get you a little smarter. If you got to do a 750-piece puzzle, you will think about the puzzle. You will not think about the other stuff that you have to deal with, okay? Especially now with the internet and different pieces of technology, you can even make puzzles of yourself. Pretty cool. Might want to make one of those. I don't know if those services are working right now, but you have a puzzle, please make a puzzle. Chances are you have some board games, right, lying around. You can't go to the store and buy it right now, but I know Categories, that's always been a favorite of mine. I know that big fan of Steve Harvey before and after the feud. And right now you can play a little Family Feud. But whatever you have in your house, if you have Clue, like that's awesome. If you have the movie Clue, that's a whole nother topic. Please watch that film. But doing, playing games with your family, that's obviously great. And actually, you can do this with your kids. You can color, right? And these like coloring books, they become very popular for adults. If you have kids, they probably color. Now you have an excuse to color. And I know these are thought to be very therapeutic. So that's something else you can do with your family. You could play a little trivia, right? Maybe you got Trivial Pursuit. Maybe you just got a book like I do. The point is there are plenty of things you can do with your family. Yesterday, we played Heads Up with the phone. You can play that way. If you've never played Jackbox, jackbox.tv, look it up, Dan. It's a virtual game where basically it's kind of like a board game on the screen. You will have tons of fun with your family, especially if you have younger kids. You can obviously have like cleaner versions of that. So playing games with your family and friends, it's not only going to take your mind off of things, but when you foster those relationships, it's going to keep you calmer. It's going to allow you to bring your stress down. And there's, again, different people. Somebody's down, you have somebody else bring them up. And because we try to help each other out, we're going to almost naturally do that. So spend time with your friends and family, virtually or family in person. Next thing I want to talk about is setting big picture goals. Now, why is a way to reduce stress and anxiety? Well, if we're setting goals, right, especially big picture goals, we are painting a picture and setting a point in time in the future where things are going to be a lot better, right? And we have some more hope and, more positivity. And this is really a time, especially if you have more time on your hands, where you can set those big picture goals that you might not otherwise do. And I'm not going to get into it totally right now, not into the weeds, but I'm going to give you a little outline of a challenge that I'd like you to undertake. And this is going to allow you to develop habits and different steps in your daily life that are going to lead to that ultimate goal. I want you to set a big 10-year goal. Where are you going to be 10 years from now? And you should obviously make this positive. I want you to think about where you're going to be personally, where you're going to be in your fitness goals, where you're going to be financially, where you're going to be with your occupation. And it is going to be positive because you have 3,650 days to plan for this and to prepare. That's 365 days a year for 10 years. You have that much time to prepare. So whatever you imagine to be in 10 years, wherever you're going to be, it's going to be something positive. And I want you to write we can call this visioning, whatever. I want you to write. This goes back to our writing. You're going to write a positive picture of what that day is going to be. So you write the date, March 26, 2030, and I want you to describe that day. You say, I wake up, and you talk about the home that you woke up in. You talk about how you're feeling. You talk about your physique. You can talk about who's in the home with you. You can even talk about, whether it's specifically what's in your bank account or how your comfortability of living. You can talk about what your occupation is, like where you're going to go to work that day, what a normal day for you looks like. And it should capture all of the details of where you're going to be in 10 years in a positive way, because of steps that you took to get you there. And you're going to write that picture and you're like, oh man, my life there's like some crazy stuff going on right now, but my life it's pretty good right now, right? You can even talk about what's going on in the rest of the world and write some positive things. And that's going to be kind of like your vision of hope of what's to come. And then what we can do later on is we can backtrack different habits and talk about how we're going to get there. But definitely writing a big picture vision is something that is going to take your mind off things, and it's going to bring your stress and anxiety down, because you're going to be seeing like all the great things that are going to happen to you. So remember, this is a storm right now that we're undertaking. It's not a storm. It's not a blizzard. It's a season, right? We're in winter, just like Game of Thrones. Winter is here. Winter ends. We're going to get through it. And there's going to be all these great things. And now you get to write about it. Okay. The final two things that I want to talk about with stress and anxiety, dealing with those, are things that I'm going to tell you every day, COVID-19 or no COVID-19. They're always going to be applicable. They're always stuff that we talk about. And one is obviously, thank you for joining, Carrie. Other thing that we're going to talk about is obviously getting enough sleep, okay? And as much as possible, we'd like to be in that 7 to 8 hour range. But the point is, wherever you are, I know, right? Sorry. The point is, wherever you are, let's say getting, a half hour more is an awesome step. And then over time, if you get another half hour more, that's an awesome step. If you have more energy and you're more well rested, that is 100% going to bring down your anxiety levels. It's going to control cortisol, which is your stress hormone. It's going to allow you to better interact with others. You're not going to be so cranky all the time, and everything is just going to fall into place. You're going to have to use less willpower throughout the day. So getting more sleep 100% will bring things into balance, and it'll keep you less stressed. It'll keep your anxiety down, and it's going to make you healthier. So it's 100%. And it's a whole nother topic to talk about ways to get more sleep, but obviously you want to look at screens not too close to going to bed. So if you want to get to bed by 10, you don't look at screens before 9:30. Get that room dark, blackout curtains. If you got a clock, put something over it. That way it doesn't emit any light, and keeping the room cool, 68 degrees. That's a good rule of thumb. A lot of other things we can do, controlling our caffeine intake. Those are a few quick tips. Get more sleep. You'll be less stressed out, have less anxiety. And of course, the coup de grace, the one that we're always going to tell you to do, is to exercise, right? To not only exercise, but I'm going to put in there walking, and I'm a little caveat, I'm going to put walking in nature. Exercise, that's going to keep you healthier, a healthier body. Again, we're controlling our hormone levels. We're going to be a lot healthier. It's going to help reduce our stress and anxiety. And just the act of, Facebook Live, we lost you, sorry. The act of exercising, that's going to help you get rid of a lot of stress, obviously. So just in that moment, not even the health benefits that you're gaining from it that are going to bring down your anxiety in that moment. Like you're really angry, you want to throw some stuff into the ground, slam a medicine ball, you want to output energy, do some push-ups in that moment. Exercise is 100% going to help. And I like to mention walking because, especially if we're outside and away from the hustle and bustle of the streets, and right now there's much less hustle and bustle going on, that is a great way to relax your mind. That is also a great way to stimulate new and exciting thoughts. A lot of great, thought leaders and philosophers, they would get a lot of their ideas when they were walking. And when you walk, you are forced to be away from the news. You're forced to be away from social media. You're forced to be away from a lot of things that are inputting stressful things into your mind. And so often we're receiving information and processing information. We have very little time where our brains can just relax, be less anxious, and just be. And one of those times is when we're walking. And I mention walking in nature specifically because they've done some studies where they've had some people walk in busy downtown areas, and they've had other people walking just in nature. And right after that, they had them take a test. And the folks that walked in nature, they performed a lot better on the test than the people who were walking in the city because they were still thinking about things. Their mind was elsewhere. They couldn't focus. They couldn't concentrate. So walking and exercise is going to make you healthier, which is going to bring down your anxiety. And just in that moment, It's going to allow you to relieve stress when you're doing some purposeful exercise. And walking, it's going to allow you to let go of things and let go of distractions. So that's pretty much it. I want to recap Coach Rob's 9 points for relieving stress and anxiety in the times that we're living in now. Don't watch the news, the big news. Look at your local news on the CDC maybe once a day. I know that sounds, oh my God, I'm going to miss out on everything. I'm telling you, you will probably get, especially people are talking about this stuff so much, you're going to get the lion's share of what you need to know. Number 2, social media. Stay off of it as much as possible. It already makes us anxious. Now we're only seeing anxiety-producing stuff. And again, we're seeing stuff that doesn't even relate to us, but because we're seeing it on a personal level, it's going to make us more anxious. Number 3, read. It's fun. It'll make you learn some things. Number 4, learn and improve. Number 5, write, journal. Number 6, spend time with your family and friends, be it virtually or your immediate family in person. You're going to help each other out in that time. 7, set big picture goals, positive goals of things to work towards, and you're going to be thinking about that positive future. Number 8 is get more sleep. Number 9 is exercise and walk. You do those things, it's going to be almost impossible to not feel better. So that is your project, and then that is most of what I have to say. Everybody, thank you for joining. I don't know if anybody has questions or comments. God knows I can talk a lot. Minnie, no problem. Thank you for joining. If anybody has anything to say, I will unmute you on Zoom. If you're on Facebook, you don't have that privilege. How do you unmute? Unmute all. Go ahead. Why are you laughing, David?
I was drowning my sorrows. No, thank you. Great, all great.
Hello, Jana. Thank you for joining. Ann, any thoughts? Any closing thoughts? What'd you learn?
I do a lot of it.
What?
I do a lot of it already. That's good.
Pretty good.
I don't like the 10-year plan.
Well, we'll go over yours. Do the 10-year plan. Rosemary, your thoughts?
I'm going for a walk right now.
Awesome. Put a headlight on. Diana, any thoughts?
No, all good tips, and I've been going for a 3-mile walk every day. It definitely helps.
Beautiful. That's how we get those steps.
Yep.
That's a lot of steps. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emails.
Thank you.
News a little bit. Don't watch it.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hi, thank you.